Welcome to Thriller Recaps. Today, I am explaining the movie, Bridge of Terabithia, explaining every scene as it happens. Watch till the end, and please like, share and subscribe if you enjoy this. The movie begins with 12-year-old Jess Aarons preparing to go to school, but he can't find his sneakers. His mom tells him that she had thrown them out, giving him his sister's previously worn sneakers since they can't afford to get him a new one. He complains about wearing them because the color is that of a girl's, though he wears them after using a marker to try coloring the shoes. The school bus arrives, so he rides the bus to school with his 6-year-old sister, Maybelle Aaron. The school bully Janice Avery throws food at him. In class, Jess is mocked for his shoes by his classmates, Scott Holger and Gary Fulcher. A new student, Leslie Burke, joins the class. During break, Leslie tries to use the restroom, but Janice demands she pay to use it, so Leslie leaves. Jess joins a running event, and so does Leslie, who ends up winning it, though Jess isn't all that happy about it. The school bus drops Jess and his sister Maybelle at home, and they realize that Leslie is their new neighbor because she drops at the same bus stop. They meet her dad, Bill Burke. At home, Jess eavesdrops on his parents, Jack and Mary, talking about the bills while his older sisters, Ellie and Joyce, fight for the TV remote. At school, Leslie is commended by the class teacher, Mrs. Myers, for her very good essay. Mrs. Myers gives them an assignment in which they have to watch a show on TV and then write an essay on what they learned. Leslie tells her that she doesn't have a TV at home, which makes her classmates laugh at her. Jess has a crush on the music teacher, Ms. Edmonds, during class. Leslie tells Jess that he can draw better than most kids their age. The school bus drops Jess, Leslie, and Maybelle at their bus stops. Jess and Leslie race each other. Leslie finds a hanging rope, so she gets Jess to join her swing with it. She suggests having a place just for them, a magical kingdom of some sort that only the both of them knew about. Leslie suggests they gain entrance to the fictional kingdom by swinging to the other side with the rope. She immediately swings to the other side, prompting Jess to go after her. They find an abandoned car. Leslie tells fictional tales about coming to save people held prisoner by the Dark Master, a fictional character she made up. Jess insists on them leaving, making a point that the land was someone else's property. Jess and Leslie find an abandoned treehouse. Jess tells her that he doesn't know the game they were playing, and she corrects him, telling him that all was real. She proclaims the abandoned treehouse a ruined fortress. She claims that she and Jess had been sent to free them. They both return home to their families. After school, Jess and Leslie go to the treehouse and they work together to arrange the treehouse. Janice trips, lying that Jess had been the one who caused her to, so Jess is sent out of the school bus. Leslie tries to defend him, but the school bus driver doesn't listen. Jess treks home. He finds Leslie waiting for him at their bus stop. She asks him to let her go over to his house to wash herself since she had gotten into a food fight with Janice after he had been sent out of the bus because her mom would throw a fit if she sees her like that. At Jess' house, Leslie meets his mom, then they head to the treehouse. Leslie tells Jess that her parents are fictional writers who work from home, which Jess immediately attributes to why she likes making things up. They see squirrel-like creatures running around throwing nuts. They pretend to be in battle with the squirrels, which Leslie claims resembles Holger, so she named it Squogers. She claims the squirrels are warriors working for the Dark Master. One of the creatures tries to jump at Jess, but he hits it square on the face, sending it flying. They climb a tall tree so they can see all of the kingdom. Leslie claims to see a land with mountains, but Jess doesn't see it, only seeing flat lands. She tells him to close his eyes and believe, which he does, and when he opens them, he sees a beautiful land with mountains. Leslie names the place Terabithia. The next day is Jess' birthday. He is given a cake to blow out by his family and a gift from his dad. Maybelle informs their dad that an animal had been at their greenhouse, which makes Jess and his dad head to the greenhouse where they find their plants on the floor. He tells Jess that he would take care of the animal if it came there again because it was messing with their means of livelihood, which displeases Jess. Leslie gives Jess a box of paint as a birthday gift. At the treehouse, a tree falls on the treehouse, so Leslie claims that giant trolls, who to them resemble Janice, sent by the Dark Master, had felled the tree. They both imagine a giant footprint on the ground. Jess releases an animal into the woods, which had been caught by his dad's trap. He comes back to the greenhouse to find his father there, who asks him what happened to the animal. Jess explains what he did to the animal, which angers his dad, who tells him to get his head out of the clouds. Jess becomes annoyed. On the school bus, Leslie asks Jess about them going to Terabithia to slay the giant troll, but Jess isn't having it, telling her to get her head out of the clouds. At school, Janice takes something from Maybelle, so she comes crying about it to Jess, wanting him to defend her since he is her brother. But Jess refuses to fight with Janice, saying she is a girl. Jess gives Leslie a puppy, whom she names Prince Tyrion P.T, as an apology. They claim P.T would be their troll hunter. While on a troll hunt with P.T, they encounter hairy vultures resembling Fulcher. They also encounter a giant troll which chases them, but they lose it only to come across another one. P.T tickles the troll's feet. Later, Jess and Leslie come up with a plan to leave a romantic letter at Janice's desk written to her by her crush, telling her to meet him after school. Jess sneaks it into Janice's desk with Leslie keeping watch. Janice goes to meet the said boy, but she gets humiliated and laughed at by the kids on the bus. Maybelle signals to Jess and Leslie if they had planned it. Leslie introduces her parents, Bill and Judy, to Jess, and they help paint their house. Leslie tells her parents that Jess is an artist. Jess watches them play around together as a family. Back at home, Jack asks Jess to do more house chores while his mom tells him to do his homework. The next day at school, Holger and Fulcher slam into Jess, making his drawing book fall, and Ms. Edmonds sees his drawings. She tells him that he is talented, which makes him happy. Leslie informs Jess about Janice crying inside the girls' toilet. He convinces her to go talk to her. Leslie tells Jess on the school bus that Janice told her about her abusive father, and that her friends discovered after a fight had happened at her house, getting the police involved. Just then, Janice enters the school bus, but she sits in front, not going to the back to hang out with her friends. At the treehouse, Leslie tells Jess that Janice had asked for her advice, which surprises him. The rain starts, so they both head home. Leslie asks Jess if he would be coming to the treehouse the next day. He replies that he has chores to do and the day after that he was going to church. Leslie accompanies Jess and his family to church. She gets an idea to add bells to Terabithia after seeing one in church. Jess' dad gives him his key to get him a drill from the greenhouse. He finds Maybelle there tending to her plants. He is woken from sleep by his dad, who is in search of the keys he had given to Jess. Jess looks everywhere for it but can't find it, which makes his dad angry. On the bus, he tells Leslie about his dad's missing keys. Leslie gets Maybelle to confess that she had given Leslie the keys for the bells she wanted to add to Terabithia. After school, they go to Terabithia to find it. They imagine that they were being watched by the Dark Master who wants to take the keys from them. Then they are chased by squodgers and hairy vultures, but then they are protected by a sparkle of firefly soldiers who chase away the squodgers and vultures. Jess manages to retrieve the keys from the top of a tree, but a hairy vulture flies at him, making him fall. He is saved in time by a giant troll that looks like Janice. Jess and Leslie rush home. He waves goodbye to Leslie as they part, going to their respective houses. Jess drops the keys by his dad without talking to him. Ms. Edmonds calls to invite Jess out to an art museum. He asks his mom, who is partly asleep, and gets an approval. He joins Ms. Edmonds, who picks him up at home to go to the museum. While they were driving out, he glances at Leslie's house. They get to the art museum, where he sees different art pieces. Ms. Edmonds drops him off at home. He gets home to find all his family gathered in the living room. His mom hugs him, crying, asking where he had been. He tells her that he had asked her when one of his older sisters tells him that they had thought he was dead, which confuses him. His dad tells him that Leslie is dead. She had drowned after trying to swing on a rope, which broke, hitting her head in the creek. Jess thinks he is lying, so he runs towards Leslie's house. He sees police cars there, which convinces him that she really was dead. He runs back to his house, locking himself in. He rummages through his box to find his drawing book, where he opens a page where he had drawn a cartoon Leslie. He falls asleep. His father tucks him in, removing the box and his shoes. When he wakes up, he goes to do his chores, but his mom tells him that his dad was handling them. Jess' mom tells him that he would be joining her and his dad to go pay their respect to Leslie's parents. They go to Leslie's house. Bill tells Jess that she loved him and thanks him for being the only friend she ever had since she never had friends at her old school. Jess sees Ms. Edmonds at Leslie's house. He tells her that when next they go to the museum they should invite Leslie. Hearing this, Ms. Edmonds is shocked. During class, Holger whispers to Jess that he is now the fastest person in class, which annoys him, making him punch Holger. Mrs. Myers tells Jess to join her in the hallway. She tells him about losing her husband and not really healing after. She talks about what a clever girl Leslie was and that she couldn't imagine the pain Jess was feeling, which makes him shed tears. Jess doesn't participate in class. Holger and Fulcher push him on the floor in the hallway. Janice sees this. In the school bus, Jess sees Fulcher bleeding through his nose. Just then, Janice sits with him. When the school bus drops them, Jess gives his bag to Maybelle to take home while he runs to the creek where he finds that a large tree had been used to cross the creek, so he walks on it. He yells Leslie's name while running around in search of her, then he hears a scream. He finds Maybelle hanging on the tree about to fall into the creek. He helps her up, telling her to leave, even though she insists on going with him. Due to her insistent pleas to go with him, he pushes her on the floor, telling her to leave, that the place is for him and Leslie. This makes her cry, running back home, where she's seen crying by her dad who asks what was wrong. Meanwhile, Jess empties out the color tube Leslie had given him when he notices someone who looked like the Dark Master in his and Leslie's imagination was chasing him but turns out to be his dad. Jess bursts into tears, blaming himself for not inviting Leslie to the museum or going with her to the creek. His dad comforts him, telling him it isn't his fault. Later that night, Jess apologizes to Maybelle for pushing her. Jess pays homage to Leslie at the creek when he gets an idea. He runs to her house but finds that her parents are moving. He chases after the moving truck. Leslie's dad, Bill, sees him chasing after the truck so he stops it. Jess asks for the wood at their house. Bill tells him to take anything he wants to take. Bill takes P.T. along. Jess uses the wood to create a bridge at the creek. He takes Maybelle there, telling her that she would be princess of Terabithia. They both imagine seeing a large castle with different creatures in Terabithia.